Hello, Blitz fans of all ages. It's me, Plumcastle here, showing you guys what the next Battle Pass tank should be looking like. Now, this is not the current Battle Pass that has been going on right now. This is supposed to be the next Battle Pass tank. It's a tank that's supposed to be called the Turbo. As you can see right on screen there, I have reskinned it over my Rudolph. Now, as always, this is basically just a reskin over the original Tech Tree Stritzwagen 74. Well, I take that back. Not all Battle Pass tanks are reskins of the Stritzwagen 74. This particular Battle Pass tank just happens to be the Stritzwagen 74. Now, I did try to reskin Stritzwagen 74 itself. However, I was getting a lot of game crashes, so I went ahead and reskinned it over the Rudolph since that did not crash my game. Now, what I've decided to do is actually split this into two separate replays. I will have one replay for my reskin, because obviously if I'm playing a Rudolph, it's not actually the... It's a Rudolph, really. It's still a Rudolph. Everything's the same. It's totally a Rudolph. That's the whole thing. I'm not actually cheating here. It's absolutely a Rudolph. Its armor's the same as the Rudolph. So what I went ahead and did is, like I said, is I'm going to have one replay for the reskinned Rudolph and one video or one replay for the Stritzwagen 74, so that you can see how it should actually play. So you can see here we've loaded up the replay here. So there it is in battle. That's the Turbo, i.e. my reskinned Rudolph. Now, again, this is actually going to be a fairly decent game. But however, it's just a Rudolph. Now, you will see a few funny things. I actually reskinned, yeah, like you can see there. There are a few graphical bugs. The turret isn't quite centered. I just had to use what I could work with. And I will try to figure out how to eventually get my skins to work over the original tanks. However, I'm not there yet. Now, the enemy, I forget its name. It was the P-43. Yes, the P-43 ANN. I also had reskinned with the non-flame version. You can see there. You can actually see the armor on the enemy tank is actually identical to the P-43 ANs. This is not cheating. This is just it looks different. However, when playing around it makes it a little hard to aim sometimes. So let's talk about the tank. Now, the tank itself, if you look at it out of this mirror or out of this zoomed mode, you can see there's like a fire camo on there. And I say camo because you'll see even with the enemy P-43, there seems to be a camo version and a non-camo version. The non-camo version, as you can see over there, does not seem to have the flames on it. And then there's the camo version with the flame on it. Now, I don't know how this is going to work. I assume it's like the Two-Face camo for the Dracula, the Raven camo for the Helsing, or the Knight camo for the Lycan, I think it is. We'll just have to wait and see, but currently that's how it seems to be indicating that within the game files, because when you look at the game files for other Battle Pass tanks, I don't think they actually have the specific file that I'm referring to, because this seems to be like an epic, I think, or is it legendary camos, kind of like you have the mouse camo, I forget its name, you've got the 313 camo or something like that. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see how that all shakes down to see. First of all, Wargaming can do literally anything they want. They could technically choose to update it at any time. So this is what it currently seems to be. Of course, I don't expect to see a whole lot of change, but do bear in mind there may be some changes if Wargaming decides to do something. However unlikely it may be. Now, looking at the back, you can see it's got 6 exhaust pipes. It's kind of... I would describe it kind of like a mix between a super angular or a super streamlined tank, mix that with the Stritzwagen 74, and mix that yet again with the Annihilator, sort of. So it's like very derby, very, like, not quite steampunk, but like still kind of that, not retro, it's the apocalyptic look, I guess. With the engine anyway, you can see it. A good description is literally that it looks like a derby tank. Now you can see around the edges there, you've also got this metal apparatus, which in derby style, and there you can see there's the P-43, and it does a few weird glitches there. But anyway, that was the game with the reskin. Now let's move on to the Stritzwagen 74. Now, while we wait for that, I was mentioning that metal railing around the edges. I don't believe that'll do anything in game, but in reality, I think that would be supposed to be like, I don't know, bumper equipment. I don't know. I am assuming that's just a visual effect there, but we'll have to wait and see. Beyond that, we've got now the Stritzwagen 74 replay. Now, like I said, I was not able to get the reskin to work for this one. However, I decided to throw this one in as well to show you the closest stats that we could give, because obviously since it's a battle pass tank, it's likely to be fairly close to its tech tree predecessor. So I went ahead and played the Stritzwagen 74 to show its stats so that you had a better idea for the new battle pass tank, the Turbo. So I'm doing a pretty typical thing here. You'll notice that I'm playing this in skirmish. That's just because I was messing around and I wanted to do it in skirmish, because why not? This bush here, I love to use this bush. And then you've got the AMX over to the side. So let's talk about the tank, actually. So the tank has pretty typical medium maneuverability, I would say. I mean, typical for tier 6. I mean, I know that's kind of vague, but if you play the P43 Anniversary, you kind of get the idea. Or if you've even played this tank before, it does have a pretty decent gun depression, or at least it feels like it has decent gun depression. I'm going to guess about 8 degrees or so. I didn't actually look beforehand, but I do know the turret armor is actually pretty decent. It's not an overpowered tank, but it can hold its own for the most part, especially on ridges with that strong turret. Now, there's the Mangus over there, and we've got the AMX-12T. Really weird shot there. The dispersion values aren't terrible by any means. They are slightly more than the VK. You'll see a lot of times when I play Battle Pass tanks for the first time, I often, in my mind, compare it to the VK-28, just because I almost always play the VK-28 in Tier 6, so that's what I'm used to. So things like a dispersion, even though it's actually not bad dispersion, I miss some shots because I'm rushing, because I'm used to the VK. So what we're going to do here is we're going to poke out here on this AMX, who's actually going to bounce us, which is nice. And you can see the reload is actually fairly decent. I would say the gun is actually okay. You get a fairly decent reload, and fairly... it's okay alpha damage. It's not crazy. You also notice on the enemy team that their enemy Stritzwagen 42, Stritzwagen M42 or something like that actually suicided into the water, which is kind of funny. And now we've got this Mangus who's backing up. I was gonna see about HE. Here's a tip to you guys: if you see the back of American Heavy and you've got a pretty decent gun, try to see if you can HE it, because they actually are pretty weak. Beyond that, the game, you can see, is gonna end pretty quick. Also, really sad for the enemy team. On top of the suicide by their Stritzwagen M42, I think it is, they also had an AFK S35, which, by the way, you can HE from the side, in case you didn't know that. But yeah, really sad for the enemy team, but you can see here, it was a fairly decent game played by my Stritzwagen 74. It definitely does its job. It's definitely good for ridges and poking over them. Not really... I mean, it has gun depression, yes. It's not quite like a Mil 1, so it's not quite like that, but it is a decent tank for ridges. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, have fun, good luck, and happy tanking.